And he was in Springfield, Ohio to listen to the residents of Springfield, Ohio. And one of the things I like that Vivek did is he said, I'm not blaming anyone in Springfield for what's going on, including the Haitians. And I think that that's a good point to make. Like, we're not blaming the Haitian migrants that the federal government dropped off in Springfield, Ohio for doing what they normally do, right? Like for bringing their customs and their culture with them. We're blaming the federal government for not thinking that would cause issues. This is Vivek last night.
Here's my view, is that I don't actually blame any of the 70,000 people in Springfield for the mess in Springfield. That includes the 50,000 people like my family members or others of you who have lived here for a long time or for generations. After meeting with a bunch of them today, I don't even blame the 12 to 20,000, most of them certainly, I don't blame most of them, the Haitian migrants who were brought here by unconscionable means. I blame the federal policies that are responsible for what's going on in this city.
Absolutely. Listen, they didn't choose Springfield, Ohio, just like they didn't choose Charleroi, Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, they didn't have any say. They got dropped off under the cover of darkness. And J.D. Vance was talking about the Haitians in Springfield when he was in North Carolina. And J.D. Vance actually brings it to such a good spot. Great framing, the way he talks about this. He says, yeah, I'm still going to call them illegal aliens. Oh, I like it. And this is why.
Hi, Senator. Mia McCarthy with Politico. Question for you about the Haitian migrants in Springfield. So I know you've talked a lot about how we need to deport illegal aliens, but I wanted to ask you, the majority of the Haitians in Springfield came under TPS, so they are here legally. And I know you've expressed a lot of your issues with the TPS program and wanting to change that.
TPS is temporary protected status.
Under a Trump-Vance administration. But I guess my question for you is, if you become the vice president under a Trump administration, what will you guys do about the migrants that are already there, since they did arrive legally? And a follow-up to that, if you plan to deport them, how would you do that legally?
Well, look, this is a media and Kamala Harris fact check that I want to clarify and clear up right now. And here's now, the media loves to say that the Haitian migrants, hundreds of thousands of them, by the way, 20,000 in Springfield, but hundreds of thousands of them all across our country, they are here legally. And what they mean is that Kamala Harris used two separate programs, mass parole and temporary protective status. She used two programs to wave a wand and to say, we're not going to deport those people here. Well, if Kamala Harris waves the wand illegally and says these people are now here legally, I'm still going to call them an illegal alien. An illegal action from Kamala Harris does not make an alien legal. That is not how this works.
I love it. I love it. Excellent way to handle that question from J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance has just been an absolute pro on the campaign trail. An absolute pro. And listen, these Haitian migrants, through no fault of their own, yes, they were granted temporary protective status, but they were, before that, inadmissible. They didn't meet the requirements needed to immigrate to the United States. They're here via a magic wand. And the Biden administration, the Harris administration, flying them in. I love the way JD frames that. It's top notch, top notch. And I love the way Vivek in Ohio said, I'm not going to blame them. I don't think you should blame them. But he was asked at the town hall last night in Springfield, Ohio, Vivek Ramaswamy was, about the logistics of Trump's mass deportation. And his response, he describes migration in terms of consent. Listen to this.
For President Trump in 2016, 2020, and I will again on November 5th. President Trump vowed to do, quote, large deportations from Springfield, Ohio. But like you said earlier, most, if not nearly all of the immigrants here are here legally. So the notion of deporting all of them and then everything will be okay is not based in reality. So my question to you is this: what realistic plans can you, President Trump, and Congress produce for Springfield and cities like Springfield to be able to adapt and thrive for all of us, both citizens and immigrants?
I appreciate your thoughtful question. I don't agree with 100% of it, but I appreciate you identifying who you're voting for, but still are able to ask tough questions. I like that. So I'll say something here. First of all, is the most important part of your question is we can fall into a trap, and I don't want to see us fall into this, is there are real problems that we need to address in this country that actually have nothing to do with immigration as well. And I think that we can sweep a lot of that under the rug. Those are failures of our elected and increasingly unelected leaders of the country that we got to address by way of economic growth in this country, wage stagnation in this country. You think about even workforce training and preparedness for the changing economy, our reliance on China for our modern way of life. These are big issues even outside of the specific immigration and mass migration issues. So if part of your point is we can't sweep all that under the rug and just blame it on immigrants, I agree with you, actually. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. How are we going to achieve mass deportations? Well, first of all, you got anybody who's committed a crime in this country, anybody who is actually currently detained. That's an easy set of deportations right out the gate. You're talking about millions of people that fit those two categories together.
He's absolutely right. That's a great place to start.
That alone would be the largest mass deportation in American history.
Yep.
The next thing you got to do is, it's like you got a clogged drain, right? What do? First thing you do is you turn off the faucet. You don't try to clean the drain while you leave the faucet on. Use our military to secure the border. Use the National Guard if necessary. Aquatic barriers in the Rio Grande. And yes, complete the construction of the wall, which is not a racist or xenophobic action. And so the way I think about it is, let's just talk about some principles we can agree on. All right, maybe if I was writing this down, we'll be a little more precise, but I'll give it to you kind of off the top here. Think about it like your body, right? Violation of your consent. A nation's body is its land. No migration without consent, number one. Number two, consent should only be granted to migrants who benefit the United States of America.
Yep.
And number three is, those who enter without consent shall be removed.
I think that sums it up. That's pretty easy to understand, the way Vivek puts it right there. And this is why he went to Springfield, Ohio, to have this dialogue with the residents. Could you imagine being a resident of Springfield, Ohio right now and wanting just a reasonable, timely solution to your problem? And that solution currently, as it stands, would be, I don't know, starting a petition. And then you got to get signatures, right? That's a big if. Then you got to go through due process with your completed petition, while probably being hampered every single step of the way by the power structures in Springfield, Ohio, and in Ohio in general. And then you got to remove that current city council, which was an even bigger if. Then you got to elect replacements. Then at the very last, you'd have to pass a resolution to remove the Haitians, which would then get you sued out the yin-yang by people like the SPLC or other pro bono equivalent lawyers on their behalf, right? And then you'd have to wait another couple of years to go through the appeals process, to have it probably go all the way up to the Supreme Court and pray for a favorable decision. And then even if you get a favorable decision, now only then, after how many years that would take, would you finally be able to deal with the Haitians who already sapped up resources would be years back. Imagine being a resident in Springfield, Ohio, and that's like your course of action. You can understand why the residents of Springfield have their arms up in the air and have no idea what to do with this situation. Because the reasonable way to go about it would take years. You can understand why these people feel unheard and upset and angered in Springfield, Ohio. And then the mainstream media just yells, "You're racist because you're not accepting Haitian migrants. You're racist." they tell you that the stories of the crime ramping up, the car accidents are just fake news. The pets being eaten, the ducks being eaten, the geese being eaten. You're a bigot for even believing it. These people are going unheard. Vivek Ramaswamy was down there to hear their concerns yesterday, and I'm thankful that he was. And at one point during this town hall, a Springfield, Ohio woman describes how her daughter was assaulted by Haitian migrants.
So I have a young daughter. I have two daughters, actually.
Sure.
And one of my daughter is younger. So I want to talk about the crime a little bit.
Sure.
Personal crime. So she's been followed around Walmart. She's been stalked. She ran to her car, threw her stuff down, ran to her car. She was chased. Okay? They were immigrants. She was chased by a man with a machete on her way to work. Called the police. She told them what had happened and wanted to file a report. 2 hours later, the police still had not called her back and never checked on the crime. So that's how you know there's no crime in Springfield, because no one's reporting it.
That was your daughter.
So I have.
It's insane. These are the stories you're not going to hear on CNN. These are the stories of the residents of Springfield, Ohio that are going unheard. And CNN will go on TV and say it's Trump's rhetoric that's causing bomb threats. MSNBC will say it's Trump and Vance that are causing these issues, while the residents of Springfield, Ohio go completely unheard. Completely unheard. It's no shock that the people of Springfield were excited to have Vivek Ramaswamy there. No shock. It's no shock when he gets a standing ovation yesterday when they ask if he's thought about becoming governor of Ohio. They want somebody that's going to listen to them. And Vivek Ramaswamy is one of those guys that went down there and listened to them.
Are you going to run for governor of Ohio? And
I mean, the room explodes. Everybody's standing and cheering for this guy. Are you going to run for governor?
I'm a little more inclined than I was about 10 seconds ago.
And I mean, great answer, too. It's funny. When J.D. Vance became the pick for VP, my immediate head went to Vivek could be a great guy to slot into that senator role. But when you see Ohio Governor Mike DeWine and how much soy he consumes, I think he would be even better for governor. And I think that would be something great for Vivek to get his feet wet in politics and really start that course to being a leader in this country, because he hasn't done it before. You know, when he was running for president during the RNC primary, that was his biggest knock. It's like, you haven't done any of this before. You just haven't. You have no political experience. He talks a good game. He's very pro-America. I love that he meets people where they're at, but he doesn't have that experience. Man, governor of Ohio or senator of Ohio would be a great spot for him to get his feet wet. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, he should be Trump's press secretary. I kind of feel like that's a little bit beneath him, to be perfectly honest with you. I think he could do a lot more. And I think senator in Ohio or governor of Ohio would be a great place for him to start. He would absolutely be an upgrade over Mike DeWine. 100%.